Hello everyone, welcome back to the second video on this channel.
Okay, hi, I'm Pete and I'm here with Laz Fishboy Lewis. So we're going to have a bit of an explore today and just see what we come across. Oh, echidna, quick. Basically piles of little lumps about that size. A crayfish type critter about that long.
That's a land crab chimney.
Yep. Comes through here. Now it settles here. Yep.
Beautiful.
So, if we look here, Laz, we've got a bit of a rise here.
Oh yeah.
And the manigums are growing on the rise in the middle of the sort of wetland. But if we, and we'll see the manigum, come up close, has got these long, thin leaves. Okay, so this is one of the ways you diagnose or identify one eucalypt from another. It's the bark texture, the shape of the leaves, the colour of the leaves, but the most reliable one is the seed pods, or the buds as they flower, because they're usually unique to each species, but it's the wrong time of year to show those. There's a few, no, not really, leaf buds. But anyway, now if we look over here, we'll see another group of eucalypts, but they're different. Can you see that difference, Laz?
Oh yeah.
So you can see the leaves are a different shape, they're a lot wider, and they're a darker green. And also they're sitting down low. So these are what are known as swamp gums, or Eucalyptus ovata. Now they don't always grow where it's saturated and wet, but they can grow and survive where it's saturated and wet. So there are a couple of manigums growing next to them there, and if we get a couple of really wet years, they'll probably die, but these guys will survive. But swamp gums can actually go right up into the hills, so they're not just confined to these sort of areas, but they can survive them. They can thrive in them.
Yeah.
So if we have a look, they're called Eucalyptus ovata. Hear me? They're called Eucalyptus ovata because particularly their young leaves are kind of oval shaped. Okay?
Yeah.
They're wide. But as the leaves mature, they get longer. But they're not as skinny as the leaf of the Prioriana or the manigum. Okay, and they're a different colour. Hello, Laz, look. So here we have a southern brown tree frog.
Oh.
Did you get him?
Just for 1 second.
Okay.
If you guys didn't see that, there was just a little frog on that leaf. I'll just skip back and watch it again and spot it.
Yeah, so that's southern brown tree frog, or Irrawingi littori.
Yeah.
Littori. Which Laz is familiar with. They're not all brown, they're all sorts of colours. They've got green and grey and brown and all sorts of striping and stuff going on.
Yeah.
Cream, gold, all that colours that you get in the bush around here. We'll see if we can find another one. Wedge-tailed eagle, I don't know whether Laz is getting him, he's a long way away.
See that little dot flying around? That's a wedge-tailed eagle.
So there's a pair of them that have a territory here, and every year they raise a chick to maturity.
Wow. And if you didn't know, Bunjil is the creator of the world that the Aboriginals believe in, and yeah, it's kind of like their god.
And that's him there, the wedge-tail, the one that oversees everything.
Yep.
King of the sky.
They can get really big too.
So a wedge-tail, you see one standing by the road, they're about that tall.
Wait. Yeah. Whoa.
And they have wingspans up to 2.7 metres, so they are a huge bird. And birds that we normally think are big, if we see one flying next to a wedge-tail, they look very small. So things like ravens or crows or magpies or whatever, you know, about 1/3 the size, if that. Let's see if we can find a... Yeah, I was talking about emperor gum caterpillars. Although they usually come later in summer. But they are... Have you ever seen one, Laz?
No.
Very beautiful. They get about this big and they're bright green and they've got multicoloured spots on their back. So they stick up in little spikes. But unfortunately they are a favoured food of the European wasp and their numbers are diminishing.
There's a fly on the camera right now.
Seems we can find ourselves another tree frog.
Look at that beetle of some sort. See if I can get a close up. So Pete, you're not quite sure what type of...
No.
If you guys know, comment down below if you know what species of insect it is native to Australia. Wow, look at that.
So if you look really closely at a tree, a little tree, usually a bush that's quite dense, you can find all sorts of things on it. So we've got two things here. We've got the actual seed pod. So this is the coast wattle, Acacia sophori, and that's the pod that contains the seeds. And these are actually one of the species of wattle that's used for commercial wattle seed. Okay, so when this matures, it has little black seeds in it that are one of the ones that are roasted and used for flavouring in baking and stuff. But this here is something else. So this is what is called, people mistake these for fruit or for seed pods. And there's another one there. What they actually are they're wasp galls. And what happens is a wasp lays an egg injected into the branch that secretes a chemical. And that chemical forces the plant to grow in this bulb shape around the egg. And so what happens is that the grub, the young wasp, the pupal wasp, ends up with this protection around it and this food source. And then when it matures, it actually eats its way out of here and flies off. So if we look in here, there'll be a grub, which is, and unfortunately this guy's going to sacrifice itself for your education. There it is, tiny. There. Got that, Laz? Little black grub.
Oh yeah, that little black thing in the middle, that's baby grub.
Yeah, and we can see the little hollow that it was living in there. So sometimes you see these all over. Virtually every species of acacia or every species of wattle has a species of wasp associated with it that lays eggs and creates these galls. And sometimes it can actually kill the plant if there's too many of them. It's not balanced properly. And you get them on citrus trees as well, and yeah, they can be a problem. But this is just part of the ecology here. And these acacias, all acacias, wattles, they're nitrogen fixers. So what they do is they usually colonise an open area like this. So this used to be a cow paddock here, and 20 years ago or 25 years ago, really, we took the cattle off this property and allowed the native bush to recolonise. And there's a sequence to that colonisation, and one of the first things to come in, it's called succession, by the way.
Yeah.
is the nitrogen fixers. And in Australia, the most common nitrogen fixer is an acacia of some sort, or a wattle. So these guys don't live that long, but what they do is they pull nitrogen out of the atmosphere and they hold it in their cellular structure. And then when they die, all that nitrogen is then put into the soil, and that creates nutrient for future generations of plants, of different types of plants. So nitrogen is really important for plant growth, but not all plants can fix it directly out of the atmosphere, whereas these guys can. So they colonise, pioneer an open space, and they prepare it for subsequent generations of other plants to come in and use up that nitrogen as they grow.
Fascinating. Nature's quite something.
Okay, so we're up here on an old sand dune, like a 500,000 year old sand dune. And we can see the ridges and dips of the tree-lined ridges and the gullies in between. And this is the landscape that was formed earlier on. I talked about the sand blowing up out of Bass Strait. So these ridges and valleys were formed during that era. And then as we go towards the coast over here, we have the new sand dunes that have formed in this era. And they're only about 10,000 years old, and they're quite high. Some of them will be over 100 metres high. But this is old sand dune country that's got a little bit of nutrient in it from generations of plants that have grown on it. So we've got those two things working together here. Okay.
Kangaroo.
This is one of the locals. We've caught him mid-meal. He's not particularly perturbed, but
there he goes.
see, he's a decent sized male.
Hopping away.
Hop away a little bit. He's not too worried. Hadn't been hunted for a while around here.
You just see him. Let's continue.
So these are sawfly larvae, or spitfires. They're a caterpillar that grows in a colony like this, and in the end they'll be about 3 centimetres long.
Yeah.
And quite ugly looking.
I'll do a photo just now.
Yeah. Okay, so this white stuff here is known as manna or lerp. And it's actually a sugary secretion from scale insects that live on these leaves. And it's a really popular food amongst Aborigines and also amongst birds because it tastes like sherbet.
Oh yeah. Here's one right here off the tip. That leaf.
I have a taste, Laz. So here's Laz eating the lerp, and he's going to give us his culinary.
Here's a lerp right here, and
he's going to give us his culinary opinion.
Oh yeah, that tastes exactly like sherbet.
Yep. Nature's own sherbet.
Very healthy.
Yes. So it is very high in sugar, and it was a popular food. You can get tons of it sometimes, certain times of year.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up for now. I hope you guys saw some cool things and learnt some cool things out there. There's so much to see, so much to learn in nature. We could go on and on.
Yeah.
There's much to discover and much to understand. Things aren't always what they seem. So you just got to go out there and look and slow down a bit and have a good close look at things, and you'll find there's all sorts of stuff out there. And then when you learn a bit, you'll find that there's layers beneath what you see maybe you didn't know. So I encourage you to look closely at nature and find out things that you didn't know.
Thank you, Peter Baird.
No worries.
Now
Laz?
we're gonna. So thank you for watching Peter Baird's really cool talk about this nature all around here in Wonthaggi, which is East Gippsland, I'm pretty sure, is it?
South Gippsland.
Oh, South Gippsland. And so I hope you guys really enjoyed it. We saw some really cool animals. I really enjoyed it, at least. And I hope you stay tuned for the next video, and like this video if you loved it. Comment down below what species you loved the most, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Lazarus the Fish Boy. This two-part video was not really about fish, but about nature, which is also what this channel's about, all just animals. And so I hope you guys have an excellent day or night, and I'll see you in that next video. See ya.